I am John Stellman along with Vince Morales, John Adams. We're reminding you again that you can contribute to the show. Go onto the any page on the website, be on the show, go to the click onto the chat room, send us a comment, something you disagree with, a topic you want to talk about, and we'll get after it. So let's get right into it. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Lead with the Dodgers, of course. The Big Blue Crew down 2-1, playing tonight, starting in about 10 minutes. We'll talk about Houston and Boston. It looks like Boston's taking control of that series, at least for one night. The Rams 6-0, the only unbeaten team left in the NFL. Chargers beating up on a team that they should beat up on. We'll do our NBA predictions tonight. Look at the season, which has started tonight with also talk about the football, SC, really getting back into the Pac-12 race, beating Colorado convincingly. UCLA gets their first win. Also the Ducks and Kings, we'll talk about them. And the LA Football Club is close to breaking a record for the Major League Soccer expansion teams. We'll talk about that. Let's get right to the Dodgers. I know Vinny is excited about reviewing what's happened the last couple of nights. Not a very impressive opening night at Dodger Stadium last night. Coming back with a nice win in Game 2 in Milwaukee. All the momentum going. Fans all riveled up. And they just absolutely fell flat on their faces. There were a lot of problems. Because I know he's a little bit upset about what he saw last night.
It's like one of those things that a dad says, I'm not angry, I'm more disappointed. It's just so disappointing to see them fall flat on their face. Again, for Dodger fans who have followed this team, I guess it's not super surprising. They haven't been terrific at home all year. And this was a team that really needed the home run to survive. There were games where their offense they didn't come up with a timely hit. They weren't great with runners in scoring position. It's disappointing when the Brewers, we talked about this last night, John. It's one of those things where you think, okay, boy, if you just keep it out of the hands of the bullpen. Let's get to their matter of time. It's been flip-flop, right? Where they can't hit the starters, but they can hit the bullpen, in a couple of games where they're coming back. But if you let them get right in the bullpen, you're in trouble.
Right. To their key bullpen guys.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's you're not being able to capitalize on what, the season has pretty much told you as mediocre pitching at best from the Milwaukee side. I mean, you've got Gio Gonzalez that came over from, Washington. You've got Miley, is it Wiley?
Miley.
Who actually was, I think pitching at the league minimum. You got the kid last night. I always forget. I want to say Chacon, but it's Chacin. And he had the last time. And now he shuts you out for 6 innings, and I guarantee you that's what Council's doing. He's like, just get me to the 6th, and you're fine. Like, we're only going to let you see the lineup maybe 2 to 3 times at the most.
Right.
And we have aggressive hitters, but again, Vince, it's like the big thing that I've seen, and it's just not the Dodger game. I think it's both series is situational hitting. I mean, I know a lot of these guys are trying to live off the home run ball, and it's Grandal and Bellinger. These guys were in situations to drive in runs or make things happen, and they're goose egg. Grandal now is 0 for 9 in with runners in scoring position, and teams that go to the World Series and win World Series take advantage of those situations, and they're not, and their backs against the wall. I look at the Dodgers starting pitchers versus Milwaukee starting pitcher, and it should be a dominant thing. I mean, the Dodgers have 3 legitimate starters, and they're down 3-0 or 4-0, and 2 missing pitches, and guys are not even hitting home runs this year. Already have 3 home runs in the postseason. It's like you can't do that, and I don't think it's coaching. It's just you put your best team out there to do the job, and they're just not doing the job.
Yeah, they really had a chance in the 9th inning that we had the bases loaded, and they had Milwaukee on the ropes, and Hader had already come and gone, so we didn't have to worry about him. So they had an opportunity in the 9th inning.
Well, they had lots of opportunities.
They had lots,
throughout the game.
but that was
they left a lot. Exactly, exactly. And if you can't capitalize, but for me, the sort of what they were doing at the end of this season. Like that, they won a lot of games. I mean, they won 92 games, but they did it with the big ball, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you got guys like Kike Hernandez who had 20-some home runs, and 17 or 18 of them were solo shots. It's like that's not enough, right?
Right.
That's not enough. That you can't just keep relying on the 3-run home run. At some point in a series, right? For over the season, it worked out for the Dodgers, right? That's a team that won 92 games that maybe could have won 96, 97, but just didn't drive in big runs.
Or were they over 10 last night? I'd rather have a 2-run single than a solo home run. They just aren't getting the hits that they need when they need them.
And fly balls. I mean, again, like John was saying, situational hitting. Don't hit into double plays. Put the ball in play.
Bellinger, was it Bellinger that swung for the fence last night and ended up down on one knee?
Fence every night, but I mean, Grandal's in situations where all he needs to do is hit a ball to the right side and he scores a run. Stuff like that actually can turn momentum, and you can pick at that one here, get another one in the next inning, get another one. But when you're in those situations, it's crucial because you got no outs, right? And you got bases loaded, and you strike out. Now a double play gets you out of the inning, right?
Exactly.
It's just, and then Bellinger pops up or whatever it is. I mean, it's just you've got to be able to make them make plays, and they're not even allowing that. And it's, they're getting what they deserve, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So.
I loved with last night when Yelich so far out of position.
Right.
Dodgers don't do things like that.
Well, I mean, I think there's 2 schools of thought, and it's like, no, the Dodgers don't. And second of all, it's like if Yelich wants to give you a bunt and with the kind of OPS and the on-base plus slugging that he has, that's fine with me, right? I don't care. Yelich bunting, I'm terrific.
He has struggled a bit, though.
I'm absolutely fine with that. It didn't work out. You need, oh, boy. Oh, John Adams. Oh, dear God.
And we're off. Go ahead. Couldn't find the ball.
So for me, it's like when things are going wrong for your team, again, you want them to generate something. So that's not something that the Dodgers are doing, right? They're not taking advantage. They're not situationally hitting. But again, that's the team that the Dodgers are, and
right.
that they're. Up righties against lefties, and it's all about the analytics, and so that you got to dance with the girl you brought, right? That's what the Dodgers are. So for me, it's like I'm worried that the Dodgers aren't generating runs, but I'm not worried that their best hitters are not bunting when there's a shift on.
Right.
I'm really not. So for me, it's like if Yelich wants to potentially give himself up and not hit an extra base hit and not put himself in scoring position, I'm absolutely fine with that. And that's the way the Dodgers have played. So, and you take that's one less extra base hit away from the guy who's probably going to be the MVP of the league. And again, those are things that are emotionally uplifting for the Brewers, but the Dodgers are just squeezing themselves. It's too much pressure on their pitchers to be perfect, right? When they're not scoring runs. and when all he needed was something on the right side of the field or lifted in the air. It just too much pressure on the next guy, too much pressure on the next guy, and you can tell they're absolutely pressing. And the thing that I'm getting a sense of, and why I think tonight is so important. Look, they're not dead if they lose tonight, but to drop 2 at home is pretty devastating. The thing that feels wrong to me is that I already feel like this crowd is ready to turn on Grandal and say, I don't care if we ever see you again. And again, that's a guy who hit a bunch of home runs and drove in some runs. You need him to get right.
You don't boo your team.
You need him to get right. And so, and there's a guy like Machado who says, yeah, I saw the video. I didn't hustle. I'm not Johnny Hustle. That's not my thing. That's not my cup of tea, right? And already I can sense that like this crowd, if it goes and the ground dolls and
Kiki had some things to say about the crowd last night too.
And again, and Kenley Jansen, has things to say about that. It could get ugly quickly, and these games aren't selling out, right? I mean, there's still tickets available. I don't know.
Really, I didn't know that.
Oh, there was tickets
yesterday,
available. Yeah,
4:30 start though. Yesterday.
Still though, I mean.
Yeah, should be able to get off work early, get out there.
And again, the Dodger fans get, even though they always lead the majors in attendance. They get the
broke their record this year, I think.
Yeah, again, they break one. They break one nearly every year, and they just get a bum rap for this sort of thing. But there's going to be a good crowd out there tonight. But again, if it gets sideways, if the Dodgers. It's going to be tough. Again, like we said before, because if you wait to you had this bullpen on the ropes, right? You came back on them in game 1. You didn't win, but you did in Milwaukee what you needed to do, which was take home field advantage back. But then you gave it right back. And not against it wasn't just the bullpen. They could not hit Chessin.
He looked like
it was brutal.
Cy Young Award winner.
He has
there.
2 pitches. He's got a little sinker
that
rides in, and he's got the slider on the outside corner. I mean, it's pretty.
I don't feel great about tonight. I still feel that this is a 7-game series. I still feel that I'm sticking with my opinion of how this was going to play out. But the noose tightens, right? And I don't look at either one of these teams and think, that's the real.
I think you're probably right on that.
That's the real series that's happening.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it ends up being whether it's Boston or Houston, it's a 4-1, 4-2, something like that. World Series victory for whoever the AL champ is. That's how it feels to me.
I would sure like to see the Dodgers win the next 2, go back to Milwaukee up 3-2. If they go back to Milwaukee down or have to win 2 games, it's not going to happen.
No.
The problem here is, Rich Hill has been dreadful, right? Yeah. Rich Hill has just been awful, and Kershaw has not been the sharpest guy.
But with their starting pitching, it could happen because if these guys get dialed in, they can actually control the game. The Dodgers need to score. I think they can go back even down 3-1 and be able to do it, but their starting pitching is going to have to, give up no more than 2 runs, in 9 innings because, unless the Dodgers just start finding ways to, score guys and involve themselves in positive situational hitting, then I think that, the pitching is strong enough to hold on with Rue and Kershaw and Walker Buehler. I mean, they've just got to realize, we got to beat these starters. I mean, these are mediocre starters. I agree with Vince. I mean, these starters will get beat up against Boston and Houston.
Lit up.
I think if the Dodgers win with those 3 starters, they can compete. I still think the American League is going to win, but if Milwaukee gets to the deal, I think it's more or less them going, those bats in the American League will just eat up this pitching. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but it just, other than them just, scoring 8 runs here, or another 5 runs here, with a 3-run bomb, the American League guys are hitting the ball all over the ballpark. Both teams, they're hitting all over the ballpark.
Yeah,
and even
it's
their
true.
outs are hit hard, right? So, I don't know. It's just, I hope the Dodgers make this competitive. I hope they win tonight, and
And win tomorrow.
and win tomorrow, and then go back there. I mean, that could really change the whole momentum.
For sure.
They got
last night.
They got to score runs against the starters.
No doubt about it.
I mean,
Yeah.
have they scored a run against the
No,
Milwaukee
and
starters?
it's one. Gio Gonzalez, didn't he give up a home run early? Like Puig last night, taunting the pitcher. I mean, Gibson up 4-0 would have threw that right in his ear in the playoffs.
Oh, exactly.
Or Nolan Ryan or
Drysdale.
Like those guys would have went, what? It was. Did you see it? I just shook my head. I'm watching that going, boy, you're lucky this is the 7th inning and you got a minute on second and third, because I don't know what he was thinking, but that's what
He's a powder keg.
Well, that's what Puig does. I mean, he gets in your grill, right? So.
Yeah, and for the Dodgers, it's any amount of energy. The thing is that if Bellinger's not going to hit, if your platoons are not going to hit, and Bellinger also had a poor play in the outfield, he's a better outfielder than that. And he gives up that triple to Shaw.
Yeah.
In the field. I mean, it was one of those things where I was a crappy hitter in high school, right? But I could play a little defense. And it was always one of those things where I never took those at-bats out to the field, right? Because I was such a crappy, hitter that I knew the only way I was gonna help the team was out in the outfield. So you can't take it out there. And Bellinger looks like he's taking it out there. He's pressing. That was just just too many of these little things happening. And Grandal, it just feels like, wow. It's just as things get tighter, he was like a kitchen table all year, right? He was terrible. I mean, I think he led the league in pass balls. He was awful. He's a terrible backstop, except he can frame, right? He's a good receiver,
right?
Right now, I don't think there are a lot of Dodger fans who want him back.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
But if you're going to win a World Series, you need him to get right.
Oh yeah.
And right now, somebody needs to get in his grill and say, okay, you're not going to be a Dodger, but if you want a payday, you want to get paid, you better get it going.
Yeah, you want a nice contract for next year, you better start producing.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And never mind. It's just, you talk for it forever. Never mind. Frustrating.
We won't talk any more about the Boston, Houston. What's it, 8-2 or
8-2 last time I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, Bradley Jr. with the grand slam that put that game. Looks like it's going to be in the refrigerator. What are they, in the 8th?
Yeah.
That's over and done. Let's talk about the Rams going into with victory. I guess Kupp got hurt again, but not as seriously as they had feared, and apparently he may only miss a couple of games, so that's a good sign. What'd you take out of that Ram victory, Vinny?
It was a good win. I mean that's a pretty good Denver defense.
It is.
I don't think they put the fear of God in a lot of teams, but that's a tough place to play. That's an absolutely tough place to play, and you're looking at a team that went on the road twice in really tough situations and came out unscathed.
Really? 2 games they could have lost.
Nobody's gonna care at at the end of the season whether or not that was a 10-point win or a 3-point win. They felt like their foot on the necks of the Broncos at any time, and they just couldn't quite get there. But I thought they looked really good in a very tough situation.
Mm-hmm.
I went into that game thinking, you know what, if they lose this, okay, it's okay, because they beat the Seahawks on a road. The Seahawks might win, but they still got a little distance between themselves and the rest of the West. I was okay if they went in there and lost it. And so when they started struggling a little bit and Denver looked like they were putting up a fight, it felt like, okay, well, if they lose this one, I'm not going to bang my head on the wall. But to actually go out there and to win that, it felt like, wow, this team knows how to win under some adversity. Week off of being under concussion protocol, and Gurley is
How
just
about Gurley?
Gurley was
Yeah,
just
he's a
a
man.
monster, just a
Unbelievable.
monster, just a monster, and for him to run for 200, and they only beat that team by 3. Wow. Yeah.
Well, it was a late score, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, late score.
But
But that's, their games are starting to get closer and closer, right? So they're starting how to
3 and 2.
figure out
2
how
and 3.
to defend them. But still, as we said, and again, there was probably elevation situation there. I think it did snow on them.
Stop snowing.
It stopped snowing. It didn't snow on them, but it was snowing.
But it was cold, right?
It was cold.
So different elements that they're used to doing.
Right.
But
And Goff was quarterbacking with gloves for the first time.
Yeah, and it said it maybe not in the snow or in cold weather, but you got to score 30 points or more to beat them. Like, it's what you're going to have
Exactly.
to do.
Right.
And now we're starting to see them come back to reality because guys are banged up. They're not 100%. How is your bench doing? How is your bench going to handle situations of playing maybe a majority of the game? Stuff like that's starting to happen, and it's still working for them, and that's the sign of a quality team, because when you do get your starters back that have been hurt and become healthy, your depth is just even better than that, because your bench is actually beginning some play. So that you can sub this guy in and make sure that it was classic. I was watching Rodgers last night. He gets to the line of scrimmage. The first thing he says is, "Where's Devontae Adams?" Okay, he's over there. Here, and I got a rookie over there, and those are so that's my third and fourth pick, right? It was kind of funny to watch how he was managing that game, because it was all, is Devontae open? Okay, is Graham open? Okay, they're not open, so now I'll start figuring it out,
Right.
But
he can
clock management.
really make things happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Your Chargers played a good ball game against Cleveland.
Yeah, I think it was the first time that I saw a balanced team, right? So all angles of and all categories of the football team actually did their job, right? Got off to a great start. Put the pedal down when they gave him the opportunity. I mean, even Vince was watching it a little bit, and they look very impressive. It was a very balanced stand, and I think Vince sent a text to me and a friend, and I just said, keep them on the road. Keep them on the road. Well, every game's an away game, right? So,
Well, that's true of StubHub Center anyway.
right.
Still
And
working.
and we got the Titans next, and they're struggling. So it's looking good to keep this momentum going. Their only 2 losses are to a 5-1 and a 6-0 team, right? So if we can continue to win and rest Bosa, I'm up for that. I'm okay with that, right? Because if we get
You don't need him right now.
Yeah, we don't need him right now,
That's
right?
right.
If we continue to play like we're playing, right? So it's just we got to keep these guys healthy, and Rivers is having one of his best years ever.
Might be the best.
I like what I'm seeing. I like the way it's going.
I was listening to some San Diego sports talk coming in today, and of course they're the great Charger haters that they are. Were quick to point out that the last 4 Charger wins have come against teams with a combined record of 5-17-1, and the only teams they lost to, like John said, were 5-1 and 6-0. But still, a win is a win, and you got to beat the bad teams. You got to beat the bad teams.
Right? No, you have to. And here's the Titans that just got beat 21-0, against Baltimore, and you got to go beat them too. It's just because that AFC West is, with Kansas City doing what they're doing, you gotta stay in there and keep winning these games.
That's right.
So, especially when you're out of your division, because you got to get that. Got to get it up to about 9 wins, right?
Yeah.
To make the playoffs.
At least, yeah, for sure.
It's good. Teams, this week. So if we just get the Dodgers going, I think it's all Southern California. The Angels. I heard the Angels today had a thing on their stadium. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, they opted out of their.
Yeah, I don't mean to change the subject, but we're just talking about SoCal stuff.
Yeah, they opted out of their contract with the city, which all that means is they wouldn't have had another opportunity to do that till 2029. So this just gives them an opportunity to look around and maybe a little leverage for a stadium that's hasn't really been. It's one of the third or fourth oldest in baseball. Little renovation work there. Yeah, that's true. They did. They opted out. Bruins win their first game. They pound the merciless Bears, and the Trojans had a nice win against Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA got off to a good start, and it just kind of like the Chargers, just kept picking at it and pretty much controlled the whole game. And then, the Bears come out in the third quarter and score a touchdown. But after that, put the pedal to the metal and kept attacking and just played. And I think we discussed this, again, we've discussed they're a bad team. It's just a matter. But we did discuss that they will get better as the year goes on. How much better we never knew. But
right.
That was a good sign to kind of show, because Cal was actually pretty good early in the season, and then obviously it faltered. Yeah. But that's a nice little.
Their young quarterback has imploded, and so
right.
I saw that coming. That Cal team was doing it with smoke and mirrors, so Wilcox is a good coach. I like him, but nonsense.
And then they get Arizona at home, so possibility
could
of,
win that
of
one.
Winning another one. Arizona's down this year.
Khalil Tate, he's just not right.
He's getting beat up.
He is
beat up.
Yeah, I mean his ankle is more crooked than his nose. Yeah. So it's like he if he's not right, they can't win. There were plenty of times when all year long where it looks like he could just if it was last year, he'd be in the end zone on some of these things. Mm-hmm. But the South is tightening up. USC's got to go take care of business in Salt Lake City, and that's hard to do.
That's hard to do.
That's very hard to do.
But I was very impressed with USC. I thought Colorado was a pretty good team. They have some playmakers.
19th in the nation.
And but you did lose
is out for the year with and again, it's one of those things where if you're not watching closely, right? I can see where everybody thinks that's a great win. It was a crappy first quarter, right, offensively.
Both sides.
Two interceptions for Daniels, right? He came back, and again, it's one of those things where sometimes you get something in your teeth and you just can't let it go. For me, it's T. Martin. That team was on top and cruising, right? So they got things straight, right? They got it straight. That team was cruising. And with 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter, he takes a minute off the clock and gives the ball back. 2 more series, 48 seconds, and another minute and a half. Those are the 3 of the last 4. off the clock, right? Because Colorado
Right.
had no timeouts, and it was victory formation. But 3 of the last 4 series, when they should have been grinding that clock and winning that game, and Porter Gustin would never have even been on that field, if T. Martin can make some play calls and extend some drives and get that defense off the field, he could have taken him out. Right? They could have
Exactly.
taken him out. But T. Martin is going over the top. And look, I watched the game. They were open, right? But it's a freshman quarterback, right? And these are not all world receivers. They're very talented, but the thing is that if that's your game plan, is just to continue to go over the top. T. Martin is just so dumb that he goes, "Oh, they got 8 men in the box. I better throw it over the top." Oh, they're loading up the box. I better throw it over the top. and again, it was pretty close, right? If JT Daniels connects on one or both of those plays that were off the fingertips or missed by a few inches, we're singing a different tune, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But you gotta keep that. You got to take that into consideration when you're making these play calls. He could have milked the last 3 minutes of that third quarter. He could have milked it, but he didn't.
At least should have given it a shot.
I'll tell you right now, you're going to see what T. Martin's like about this weekend, because that defense is pretty good at Utah, and it's at Utah,
And it's at Utah.
and it's going to be it's a tough place to play. One and two, that their corners and their defensive line, they're a good defensive team, and I'm really curious to see how he handles it.
I didn't watch a lot of Colorado's games. I did see a little bit of them, and I saw that Montez was completing 75% of his passes, and that Chenault was just a beast, right? And their running back was pretty good, but they didn't play anybody, right? They didn't play anybody. The teams had what, like 5 and 15, 5 and I don't know.
Right.
Everybody they had played up until the Trojans had losing records. And they were pretty bad. And so they were the Bluffaloes. I mean, it was all bluff, right? That team,
Buffaloes.
right? They just aren't as good as that undefeated record coming in against the Trojans. It was over 50% of their plays from scrimmage were 0 or negative yards. USC's defense is pretty good, but they blew that offense up. He sort of checked out of the game for a little bit because he had 3 timeouts left in the ball, and he was going to get the ball back to start the second half, and he let that clock run, and then USC got a penalty, and there was 13 seconds left. 13 seconds left. Yeah. He let it run from a minute and a half with 3 timeouts. I couldn't understand it. He totally mismanaged the clock, or decided he was gonna quit on it, and then called a timeout with 13 seconds. Then they got a penalty that moved it up, and then they threw one out of the end zone. But if they had just worked the clock, you got a quarterback who hit 75% of his passes, right? Throw some corners, get it into field goal range. You got a 42-year-old kicker. Let him kick.
Timeouts to the second half.
Yeah, you can't. They don't care. Brady Quinn was saying, "Look, they don't carry over." And Joe Davis, the voice of the Dodgers, who I love listening to when he does football, he's a great announcer. I love Joe Davis. I love him with the Dodgers, and I love listening to him call football. He's terrific. He's absolutely terrific. And they're just going, "What's he doing? What's he doing?" I didn't get it. And it was poor coaching, and it was poor clock management, and the Buffaloes could have come back. And
no, they had to, and they had a 4th and 10 on the 50, I want to say, and the guy did an out, and he hit the kid right in the chest and dropped the ball. I mean, it could have got interesting if that was a first down, because now they're on the 40, plenty of time.
Exactly.
On that clock to score, and 49ers last night, late in that game, had poor clock management also. I mean, the guy runs the ball out, gets pushed out of bounds. They get the ball on the 40-something yard line, and Green Bay has no timeouts, and San Francisco has 2 or 3, right? And they're not running the ball. Green Bay can't call a timeout. They're not running the ball. They're throwing the ball, and stopping the clock. And it was just, I've noticed that more and more. It's like when you really overanalyze some of these losses that you have, Vince, I think you're right. A lot of it has to do with clock management,
Yeah,
that's coaching, right? That's
exactly.
not the kids.
Yeah.
That's coaching.
There was a time when an offensive coordinator, right? Again, fans will be fans, right? If T. Martin runs it into the belly, into the teeth of 0 yardage, 1 yard, and 2 yards, you complain. However, that's a price you pay, right? That's a price you pay to milk the time off the clock, because Colorado's not going to be calling timeouts at the end of the third quarter, right? But with 3 minutes left, he gives the ball back to them. And again, and USC loses another fourth quarter. They lose another fourth quarter, and they played crappy in the first quarter. So, yeah, they're 3-1 in the Pac-12, and at the top of the South, and their fate is in their own hands. But I don't like it.
You're saying the fate is in T. Martin's hands.
Well, and Clay Helton and these kids who another 13 penalties, right?
Yeah.
And
That's brutal.
another so a lot of things that didn't go right. Yeah, that's
Right.
a win against a previously unbeaten team. That's a win against the Division South rival. So, okay, those are all great things. And JT Daniels can sometimes look brilliant, and it's like I see the future of USC football, and it's bright. But God, I don't know. I don't know. Clay Helton is 19-0 at the Coliseum. Right? It's hard to throw that guy under the bus.
Right.
It's hard.
He's 19, yeah.
So, but what 18 penalties in one game and 13 in the next.
Sounds like the Raiders.
It's terrible, and you cannot do that at Salt Lake City.
No.
You can't do it.
Well, that's where Darno broke in, wasn't it, when he took over for? By the way,
Yeah.
too. Let's get to the NBA. The season's underway tonight. The Lakers open Thursday. The Clippers actually open tomorrow night. Why don't we take a look at? I sent you guys out an idea of what we'd talk about. We'll take the winners in the divisions. I'm actually going to try to pick the West and East final winners, so maybe we'll do that as well. In the East, I like this at Celtics, I think. Is that pretty much in the Atlantic Division?
Yep.
It's pretty much a given. Central Division could be. There's a couple of teams that scramble there. I like the Bucks. You've also got other.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be it's not going to be a runaway in that division.
Nope. That's who I have.
Bucks. What about you, Vinny?
Well, I'm still looking at the Raptors. The Raptors.
I have them in second place.
They won 59 games last year.
Kawhi back.
And they get Kawhi. So DeMar's gone. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Las Vegas thinks it's the Celtics. I'm not ready to hand it over to the Celtics. I think the Celtics will be right there. But I think Toronto won the East last year, and I think that they can do it again.
Should be a good race. Even Philly's.
Absolutely.
Philly's going to be competitive.
Yeah, Philadelphia is
That's a
going to
good
be
team.
very, very good. Those are all potentially
Situational hitting. Dozier drives in, singles to left. Taylor scores. Freeze to second. Men on first and second with 2 outs. Dodgers 1, Brewers 0.
They need a crooked number.
They need
Tell
to
me,
keep
yeah,
going.
exactly.
Right.
They need to, they need to get.
You were talking about
yeah, I'm
Philly.
talking about Toronto, Boston, and Philadelphia. Those are three teams where the winner of the Eastern Conference is going to emerge from one of those teams.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
I think a lot of it has to do with health, right? Hayward, he breaks his leg in the first 3 minutes.
Hayward's back, and
so Hayward's back, and I'd like to see him play a full year, but that's why you just keep Boston just a little bit above Toronto.
That's what
the maturation of that team.
Right.
I like Kawhi, and if he's healthy, I think that's a net gain for Toronto.
Exactly.
And that's a team that won 59 games last year. So, Vegas looks at it the other way. They flip. They say Boston, and I'm not going to argue with that, but I would take Toronto. But Philadelphia, I think Philadelphia is still a year away.
The 76ers, and I'm like, you're not going to be good. Well, I'm sorry, you're not going to be a contender until you get Simmons to start hitting jumpers. I mean, he didn't have one 3-pointer last year. Not
really?
One his whole entire career. I'm sorry, his whole entire year last year. Not one 3-pointer. So if he gets to learn how to shoot, I think they can be contenders. But if you're going to go ahead and say, go ahead, shoot, and because you can't shoot, kind of like a ball situation, then I'll play off of you, right? Because the only thing I'm worried about is you are very dangerous when you go to the hole, right? That's when you get dangerous. But you know what? If you still can't figure out how to shoot the ball, I'll let you have the shot all day long.
Exactly.
I'll play off this guy and kind of cheat over here to help this guy in defense or over here.
Yeah, go ahead and shoot it.
I mean, and you get a lot of guys talking that, if he learns how to shoot, he at the very, little bit of LeBron James.
Right.
But LeBron can shoot, right? So he can't shoot. So he has a lot of the same kind of capabilities that, LeBron did but he needs to learn how to, shoot the ball to be that elite, player in the NBA.
Well, LeBron didn't become an elite, jump shooter for a couple of years. I mean, coming out of high school, he didn't need to be. He evolved into that
Exactly.
dominant player from everywhere. But Philly, it's going to be a little while. But
do you guys like? I think you like the Bucks.
I did, yeah.
In the Central, how about you, Vince?
Boy, I'm.
I
mean, is right. I don't like Cleveland there at much at all anymore. Indianapolis, but it's crap from there on, right?
No.
I mean,
that's about it.
It's looking at this even the Southeast is crap.
Yeah, we'll talk about them in a minute.
You know what I mean? It's just there's not a lot
Nothing
of good teams
really there.
and some of these divisions are not very good.
Who do you like in the Southeast, John? Speaking of the
I'm
Southeast,
going to go out on a limb and take Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
Vince.
And I can't tell you why, but it's so bad. I just picked Charlotte.
I'm trying to find out where Vegas has them. Vegas has them over under. They won 36 games last year, and that's where Vegas puts them at their win total this year, 36.
I'll take the Heat.
Well, they lose Wade, right? I don't know. Miami won it last year, but again, they're all bad in that.
According to Vegas, the Wizards are projected to win the most games out of that, but it's still, I mean, these are teams that are going to be flirting with just a few games over 500, right?
Exactly.
Right? So, no champions emerging from the Southeast.
Do you guys want to seat those 8 teams in the East or not? I did it, but if you guys,
all right, I did it.
All right, go, John.
Are you want me to go 1 to 8 or 8 to 1?
Go 8-1.
8 to 1. Washington, Charlotte, Cavs, Pacers, Bucks, 76ers, Toronto, Boston.
Yeah, I've got from 8-1. I've got Pistons, and the Celtics.
Yep.
So they should. I'm looking for them to, meet in that
Yeah.
meet in that final.
My top four, are Toronto, Boston, Philadelphia, and the Bucks.
Yeah.
But from there,
Right,
I
you might as well
can't
throw
even
dice.
really
Put
speculate.
names
But
on dice and start throwing them against
Yeah.
the wall.
whoever you guys said, yeah,
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right,
Whatever.
exactly.
yeah.
And as far as the East finals, Celtics over the Raptors, which could go
Could
either
happen,
which could go either way.
Yeah, I'd rather see Toronto there, but that Boston team could be very.
I'm
could be
interested to
special.
see not only Hayward back, but Kawhi's going to be. I mean, Irving is with them all year this year, along with
Celtics beating the 76ers 66-59, 3 minutes left in the third.
That's competitive.
Mm-hmm.
That's competitive. Western Division, the Northwest. I had trouble with this. I waffled between Utah, who I think is going to be very good, and OKC, but you always worry about how many games Westbrook's going to play. If he's going to be on again, off again, or in and out of the lineup, hurt, healthy. So I picked the Jazz to win the Northwest.
I actually took Denver. I looked at this, and in this Northwest, the last place team to the first place team was only 3 games behind. I mean, really, it's very competitive, right? Denver went out. I kind of, went with the longer shot because I thought Utah. I'm kind of wiping myself away from OKC. I just think that, they rely so much on Westbrook.
They do.
And
They do.
where I think Denver and Utah are kind of a bit more balanced. And so I like both Utah and Denver. I just thought Denver might be a little bit. I'm just going to take Denver to upset Utah in that division.
Yeah, boy, the Northwest feels loaded. I mean, here's the way Vegas projects it, right? The Jazz over under win total 50.5, so they got 50 in the hook. OKC 48.5, Denver 48.
Yeah, it's going to be tight.
Mm-hmm.
Tight division.
And they don't. I mean, they got Portland at 42. Portland won wins.
Right.
So
that's going to be a good competitive division too. Southwest.
Southwest Rockets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a given.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's almost
the
60
Pacific's pretty much is a given too.
It's a 60 win season for them, and I think it's just a complete drop off from Houston to everybody else. New Orleans, San Antonio. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Seedings in the West?
8-1.
Yeah, 8-1.
Wait, let's talk about the Pacific.
But that's why.
Yeah, well, we know it's Golden State, but I think that I mean it's clearly Golden State, right? We know that, but.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Okay, because Vegas has the Lakers over under win totals at 48. The team won 35 games last year, right?
And their over under last year was 31.
Right. I think LeBron. I'm telling you, I think they're going to have some learning. There's going to be a curve, learning curve there.
Right. Yeah.
And even with something as funny as LeBron doesn't know what to call Luke, right? Do I call him Luke? Do I call him Coach? Tyronn Lue used to say, "Call me Tyron," but he says I couldn't call him Tyron because he's Coach and there's a hierarchy. It's like you could have fooled me with LeBron. He talks a good game, right?
Exactly.
So I think there's going to be some growing pains on kind of figuring it out. one of the young, up and comers.
Right, Eeyore.
And I'm not quite a seasoned, and I'm not a seasoned veteran. I'm sort of in the middle, and I don't know my play. It's like, shut up and play.
Yeah.
Right? Just shut up and play.
Just shoot the ball.
Yeah, just shut up. Just shut up. So okay, so you don't have, people don't love you the way they love Kuzma, right? And nobody's projecting you to be better than Lonzo Ball. Okay, I get it, but you played pretty well in Vegas, and there's some veterans who are getting a lot of money to play ahead of you, right? And it's gonna be their job until it's not their job. And that's why I just don't know. I mean, is it Josh Hart? Is it Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? Who is it? Right?
Right.
Is Rondo going to be the game? Josh Hart is already pouting a little bit. I'm not smart enough to know where it is. I'm going to watch that first game, and I'm going to be really intrigued by what happens. But again, I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to be
First
under
20
500
games.
under 500 in their first 20 games.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they'll get it right, but that number, 48, boy, what a season that would be for the Lakers if they could hit
Tremendous.
that, right?
What they have, 35 last year?
Yeah.
35. They were
13 game improvement.
Anybody got a guess on? Okay, so the Clippers won 42 games last year. Anybody have a guess on what the Clippers over under in win totals is in Vegas?
They won 42 last year?
They won 42 last year.
I'm going to say 43.
I'm at 37 and a half. They got them under 500.
Under 500.
I'm going over there.
Good luck.
Yeah, I think.
But if your bet is who's going to win more games, Lakers or the Clippers, I'm definitely going Lakers.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I don't think any.
But I think it's going to be a little. I think the gap's going to be a little closer than that. That's a gutty, blue collar Clipper team, right? It's nobody I want to root for, right? They got rid of all of their faces.
That's right. Yeah,
I don't.
Nobody
barely
to
even,
identify
Yeah,
with.
I asked a friend who's a Clippers fan. I said, "Who's the face of the Clippers?" It's like, yeah, I don't know. William Beverly?
Yeah, exactly.
Ouch. Ballmer can say, hey, what? They're going to make a big splash going after free agents, next year. Maybe make a trade in the season.
Yeah, there's not any real reason to tune in and watch a ball game. I mean, there's when Paul was there and Blake was there and there was, Loop City,
Go to, I forget. Where did
Detroit.
Detroit, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And there was Lob City. It was kind of fun, but
Yeah.
what's going to attract you to the Clippers now?
Yeah.
It was hard, for the Clippers because those were the face of your team. Going,
Exactly.
Right. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. These were the guys, and then now Bobby. I don't know.
Want to do the West seedings 8-1?
Minnesota,
Oh yeah, you bet.
Los Angeles Lakers,
7, huh?
Pelicans, Jazz, Thunder, Denver, Rockets.
Teams just in different orders. You want to
Yeah.
go, Vinny?
No, I think that's right.
Vinny's going to go Golden State, Rockets, Thunder, and Utah, and whatever you guys say after that.
I mean that was a really good Houston team last year, right? I mean that was a really good Houston team.
Yep.
More wins than Golden State. I think sometimes Golden State checks out. I think they're
Here's
gonna.
what I think about Golden State this year. I think this is their last hurrah. I think they're going to lose a lot of guys after this year. Kevin could be going
Well,
somewhere.
they can't sign them all.
They can't
They can't
sign them all.
all.
So I'm
Man.
thinking Kerr's sitting these guys going down. Hey, let's go. Let's have
Party's
fun.
over.
Let's win this thing this year, and then you know what? Best of luck to you wherever you end up. So
Is Boogie cleared? I mean, is he gonna?
No.
But he will be. Probably after
January,
20
February?
games or something like that.
Nuggets, Spurs, Pelicans, Thunder, Jazz, Rockets, Warriors.
Yeah, I'm thinking Rockets, Golden State. I think it's Golden State, Houston. I'm going from the top down. OKC, Utah, Denver, Lakers, New Orleans. Was that 8? It's close enough.
You're close. Do you have the Lakers making it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be higher. I
higher.
think they're going to be higher than. Well, it was either 7th or 6th. I might have miscounted. I can see them as high as 6th.
Yeah.
I think I think if they get things right, like if those first 20 games go different than I foresee, and they get things right,
like
early,
12-8 maybe.
It could be that could be a advantage.
Wouldn't that be something?
That with LeBron, anything can happen at that
up,
point.
Wake up.
Yeah, I know. I don't think that's the way it's going to go, but
No,
I
it's
can
not
dream.
gonna go that way.
But a girl can dream, can't she?
How about West? The West Finals?
I think it's exactly what we talked about. Golden State Rockets. And I see Golden State beating them and going to the finals.
I'm going to pick Houston. They almost beat them last year. They were up 3-2, going home. If they'd had Chris Paul for those last 2 games, you don't know. They might have beaten them last year with Chris Paul in Game 6 and 7. But I'm going with the Rockets over the Warriors.
And the reason I did that is because, based on health, I think Cousins is a big difference.
Yeah, if he's
Again, if they all mold together and they play together and
Right.
do all that.
Depends on whether
Right.
when Cousins comes
yeah.
back, right?
Well, they were talking January, February, but I think it'd be sooner than that.
Yeah,
Is it an Achilles? Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
it's one of those things where if they don't have home court, it could be and Houston continues to do the things that they were doing. I mean, Harden is just an absolute beast, and as long as he's allowed to continue to push off and foul the guy before he shoots,
Yeah.
he'll throw in 35 a game.
And then they get what's his name from New York, the shooter,
Anthony.
Yeah, Carmelo.
Carmelo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How about the NBA Finals?
I will take. I'll take Boston to beat Golden State. I'll take the upset there.
Vinny?
I think it's
They throw up there?
You know what? I think that Eastern Conference Finals could be great. If it's a Toronto, Boston,
That'd be terrific.
that would be. I think that
That might be better than
would
the,
be
for the
fun. Yeah,
finals.
that would be fun. I just don't want Boston to be good. I think Boston will make it to the finals. I just don't want them to be good. I can't like Boston.
My son, Justin, who's also our producer engineer, is probably going to change his last name when he hears who I'm selecting in the finals. Boston to win their 18th NBA title. I'm taking Boston over the Rockets. So
There you go.
I think that will probably get me.
You're not invited for Christmas.
Yeah, no Christmas present for you. I think we're going to have to cut it off. I know we didn't get. They'll right the ship. They'll be fine. They've got too much talent to be lingering around
And it sounds
under
like you know
500.
more than we do. So educate us about this ML.
Yeah, the LAFC, LA Football Club, has 56 points. They're 1 point out of first place in the MLS West. That ties a record for the most points by an expansion team. So if they win one more game or if they tie one more game, they will break the record for most points by a first-year
Are
team.
the Galaxy going to get in?
It's going to be tough. They're 7th, I think.
See, what I'm wondering is when they started the league, who won the league? Was it the Galaxy?
Galaxy won a lot of
weren't
early.
they all expansion teams back then? I mean, wouldn't you say their first year?
Yeah.
How many points did they have? So I don't know. I question that whole expansion.
Well, maybe we'll have to double check on that.
Lastly,
Justin's got to go, so make it quick.
Modern Day upset by St. John Bosco.
It wasn't an upset.
No,
It was it was a
blowout.
blowout.
Say, yeah, and that was 1-2 in the nation.
Right.
And then San Clemente faces Mission Viejo this weekend for the South Coast League title.
After beating our announcers.
Capo Valley, yeah.
We got weathered out. We got that game postponed from Friday night to Saturday, and then
I was Vinny's spotter. We were stuck in a thunder rainstorm holding an umbrella, and I'm like, I don't think this is smart. So they said, get the heck out of there.
it was rubber coated. You're fine.
All righty, but we'll let Justin get out of here early. I know he needs to go. So, you guys have anything to wrap it up with?
That was it. Just go out of high school football, good football this weekend.